Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to use odorless mineral spirits, OMS, with colored pencils. So as you can see, I am getting layers in here with my colored pencils, and I am using hot pressed watercolor paper. This is Fabriano Artistico hot pressed watercolor paper, and I am layering all my colored pencils. I'm using Caran d'Ache Luminance, Faber-Castell Polychromos, and Derwent Lightfast. So what you'll see coming up in the frame here is what I use to put the Gamsol odorless mineral spirits in. It's a little pot with a lid on it, and I dip my brush in there. I'm going to go all the way in with it, wipe some off, and then get a paper towel and dab the excess off, because the last thing you want is a blot of mineral spirits on your beautiful drawing painting, which is turning into a painting, because this is just like painting. This turns your colored pencils into paintings. So because I have a lot of pigment, which is wax and oils, the mineral spirits kind of break up the pigment there, and it's like I'm painting, I'm blending everything all together. So I have some pinks in there. I have some flesh tones for the ear. I like to do the flesh tones as a base color under the ear. So that's kind of what you're seeing there. And I'm using a really light touch, as you can tell. I'm not going hard at all. And I'm using kind of brush strokes. I pretty much try to go in the direction of the fur. I try to think of, okay, and look at where my reference photo and see which way is the fur going. So that's the way I brush most of the time. And again, why I like this brush is because it's real thin and you can kind of see it looks like fur. So it was drying out. It dries out pretty quickly. So again, I'm dipping in there, and I'm going to blot on the paper towel, and we're going to go back in. And I'm still going pretty light. You can see how you really don't need much at all. And if this doesn't work for you, if you're trying this at home and you've only done a few layers of colored pencil, that's not enough. This is probably 5 layers, and you can still see the paper, like right where I'm doing now. You can still see the paper underneath. So when this dries, I'm going to go over it with another 5 layers and do the same thing, which is that's actually in this video. So you'll see this demonstration twice in this video on the same ear. So these are basically just the base coats. Again, I'm just getting the base coat. I'm planning on going over this with white. So I want my dark shadows and again the flesh tones underneath. So then I have my whites and my grays and all those fun colors to do the highlights. So you can see the brush is pretty dry. It's drying out right there. You can see, but so I'm using more pressure because there's really not a lot of mineral spirits on there now, but there's like just enough where I can move around the pigment. So I decided to go back and dip it again. And now I have a lot more pigment in this area, and I'm being really careful because I don't want to cover that white fold in the ear. That's a real important part of the anatomy, I would say, to make sure that the anatomy and the ear looks right and realistic. And plus, that's how you get the realistic look, is when you have such a high contrast between the two, the darks and the lights, right next to each other. That's what gives your drawing or painting a real look, a very effective 3D kind of a look. Now you can see I'm pressing a little harder here, and you can see in that ear, in these darker areas, I have more layers in there. I probably have maybe 6 or 7 even. I'm going to speed this up a little bit for you and get you to the next step. Okay, here we go. So kind of a fun angle there. So the odorous mineral spirits, they have dried, and I'm going over with more layers. I said earlier I was going to do some white layers and some flesh colors. So here I am with my waxy pencils, Caran d'Ache, um, Derwent Lightfast, which is wax and oil. They say it's oil, but it's pretty thick. So anyway, I'm layering. I'm layering big time. And even though I'm using really light pressure, I'm getting, which is the way you want to work with colored pencil to get all the layers. Just go really light, light, light. I'm putting a lot of pigment on there. So, and I'm not looking for perfection right now. I'm not looking for details, as you can tell, obviously. I'm just kind of getting my shadows in, getting my darks where I want them, and preserving my light colors. So I'm speeding this one up for you, but you can kind of get the gist. I'll be doing another coat of mineral spirits, OMS, after I finish this layer, these layers of colored pencil. So stay tuned. Just a couple more seconds here. Okay, so now another layer of the odorous mineral spirits. So I did, um, boy, a lot of layers, another 3 or 4 layers of the highlights there. So now I've got my brush pretty saturated with the OMS, and I am going at it. And I'm using strokes that I'm trying to emulate the fur. So I'm using kind of brush strokes to make it a little rough like fur. I'm always trying to go in the direction of the fur. But again, this isn't my final layer, my final product here. I'm going to go over it with a couple more layers and with detail next. So when this layer dries, then I go over it with detail. And I don't think I do another layer of OMS. I just keep going over and using my wax pencils to blend and my white pencil to blend over the details if I wanted it blended. 2 layers of OMS was probably enough, even though hot press watercolor paper is pretty durable, especially if you get the heavier weight one. So this is, my brush is on the medium to dry side here, and I don't have as many layers around the eye area as I do in the ear. And I'm kind of jumping around. Now I have more. I dipped into the OMS there, and I had a lot on my brush there, so I'm using more right there in the middle in the crease. And I'm jumping around because I don't have the right amount of colored pencil on all of the areas yet, so I'm just kind of jumping around to where I know I have a lot of pigment on the paper and that the OMS will work. Okay, so the OMS is dry, and I'm going over now with some more layers. Now I'm getting in my detail, and I'm using a lot of Polychromos where I get a really, really fine point. And again, I'm doing some more highlights there, getting the flesh color in there, and I'm going for my darks, my shadows, the inner ear browns and even some blacks there in the middle ear. Doing some flesh color right here because I haven't done anything on that part, the head, but I like to do the eyes, the ears first. I kind of like to get the outlines and make sure that, anatomically they're correct and everything, and then I fill in with the shadows. I kind of pull them together, the ear and the eye. I kind of fill in the spaces there. So right now I'm doing the shadows and all that. And here I am, a nice close-up of going really dark in the ear and the inner ear, using some black and filling in those crevices in the paper. It's really just all about layers here with colored pencil. Here's a real close-up of how I put the dark color, the shadows, right against the light color, the flesh color, or the light color of the fur. that line, that fold that I was really trying to preserve the whole time. It really makes it pop when you do that. You do a really fine line against the light color. That's what gives you the great realistic effect. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to see your artwork with colored pencil and mineral spirits or any other artwork. On my Facebook page, you can find me at Molly's Fine Art or any other social media. Thank you.